Before we start the video, go and visit our sponsor, RPM Technique. They're one of the UK's leading Porsche specialists. They specialise in sales, service, they build engines and transmissions, and they've also restored lots of award-winning cars. Welcome back to the AAA MF YouTube channel. Now, one of the reasons I started a YouTube channel was because I used to get endless amounts of questions from my friends about what car should I buy. And then I ended up getting friends of friends calling me saying, what car should I buy? So I decided to set up a YouTube channel so that I could give my opinions on lots of different cars. And today we've got something really interesting to film. We have a GT3 RS from 2007. No, that's not the one. This is the one. As you can see, it's got bright orange wheels. Now, the 2007 GT3 RS was the first of the 997 shape, and you could have it in orange with black wheels, black with orange wheels, and you could have it in Viper green with black wheels. Viper green is really, really rare and commands a premium over this. Now, what's really interesting is that this is a right-hand drive GT3 RS. A right-hand drive GT3 RS 4 litre costs in the region of £425,000 upwards, and this is around £120,000 for a slightly higher mileage model. So you're talking about a difference of £300,000 between the first generation GT3 RS 997 and the final one that they did. Now, obviously that has close to 500 brake horsepower. This has 414 brake horsepower. But what do they really like to drive? Is that really £300,000 more than this? So that's what we're going to find out today. Another interesting point for all you Porsche fans is this. The new GT4 has 414 brake horsepower. This has 415 brake horsepower. Now, the GT4, the new one, has GT3 suspension at the front, manual gearbox, flat 6 engine. This has a manual gearbox with a flat 6 engine. So where is your money going to go? Because a new GT4 now comes in at around £90,000 to £95,000, and this car is around £120,000. So it's not a huge difference. And people always ask me, GT4 or 911? I think that this car is as close as you're going to get to a GT4. Now, this car has been tracked a lot. As you can see, it's got the towing eye here, so that if the car comes off, they can pull the car off the track. It's done about 35,000 miles by Eddie, and Eddie's also got a GT4, which is quite interesting. So why don't we take it out for a spin, see what we think, and I'm excited. I've never driven one. I have waited a long time to drive this car, the 2007 GT3 RS. There's a few reasons for that. Number one of my friends, Andrew, keeps on asking me, should he buy one? The second reason is because it's got very similar power output to the GT4, and I've always wanted to know, if you were spending around 90 to 120-ish, would you buy a GT4 or an early 911 GT3 RS? The third reason is because I wanted to see how different this is to my car, given that my car has appreciated so much in value. And now there's quite a big gap between the early generation and the last of the GT3 RS 997 model. So I've been driving it now for around 20-30 minutes, and I'm pleased to tell you it is a lot of fun. Just like the GT4 is, just like the GT3 RS 4 litre is. These cars are designed by the GT division of Porsche, and they know how to make a fun car. What makes them fun is the manual gearbox predominantly, and then the engine. So I think you have a lot more fun in a car with a manual gearbox. There's something about having a manual gearbox that makes it much more engaging. I filmed with a R8 V10 Spider recently, and it has an incredible V10 engine, but there was something detached about the car because it wasn't a manual. I just felt like I wasn't really involved in the driving experience. Whereas with the GT4 and the GT3 RS models, I feel completely immersed in the driving experience. It's also partly to do with these amazing bucket seats. They really, really hug you. These ones feel even more huggable than my ones. I don't know if that's the right term, huggable. They support you much more than even the 918 style seats in the GT4 that I drove recently. So this is a naturally aspirated engine. It's only a 3.6. They brought it out to 3.8 and then finally 4 litres for my car over the span of about 4 or 5 years. Now, this car, I think, is fantastic value because you can buy a high mileage one. We're talking about 25,000 miles for about 120, and a low mileage one for about 130, 140. And it's really, really great fun. If you want a track car and you don't want to spend 300, 400,000 pounds on a 4 litre, this is the perfect track car. Now, I said that we were going to do this video to compare it to my 4 litre and to compare it to a GT4. So I've driven the new GT4 recently, and there's a video of that on my channel, and I've also used to own the previous generation GT4, so I've had a lot of miles in both cars. And I've got the 4 litre, so how does it compare to both of those cars? The GT4 is a fantastic car. There is no doubt in my mind. It is one of the best driver's cars in the world and one of the best driver's cars Porsche's ever made. So when we're talking about comparisons, it's not like you're saying that this is a bad car, that's a good car. We're talking about nuances in terms of how pleasurable they are to drive and what are the differences and different subtleties of the cars. So I'm going to start by saying all three are amazing driver's cars. Naturally aspirated engine, manual gearboxes. The GT4, although it has a 4 litre flat 6 engine, the new one doesn't sound great. And that's one of the biggest, for me, one of the biggest drawbacks of the GT4. This sounds great. It has a really, really great flat 6 engine that sounds phenomenal. So what is the difference between the GT4 and this? Well, the 911 GT3 RS really is the pinnacle of, I would say, Porsche racing program. You know, they've really designed this to be lightweight, high in power, great handling car, which is why you've got that big wing at the back, and this one has the roll cage in it. And it really is a track focused car, and it's a 911, so ultimately when you're sitting in a 911 you feel a little bit more special than driving a GT4. And like I said, it's got much better sound than the GT4. I would say that the GT4 probably is a better car to drive every day if you don't mind having a manual gearbox. This is a little bit more track focused, but this is more enjoyable. I'm having a lot of fun in this car. I actually can't believe there's such a big price difference between this and the 4 litre. But then again, the 4 litre is covered in carbon fibre and it's limited to 600 models. So let's move on. So the GT4 probably is a better daily. It's a little bit softer than this. This is a little bit firmer because it's set up for the track. And I would say that the clutch is probably a tiny bit heavier in this over the GT4. But there's not a huge amount of difference. I would take this over a GT4. Yeah, definitely, I would take this over a GT4. But I do like the design of the new GT4. The 4 litre has nearly 500 brake horsepower. This has 414. So there's quite a big step up in power, and you really do feel that all the way through the rev range. The 4 litre has amazing torque. Now, when I say, I'm going to repeat, that doesn't mean this is a bad car and the 4 litre is a good car. By the way, the 4 litre is in front of me, which is, I keep pointing. But when you put your foot down in this, so I'm in third, going to go down to second. you've got, the red line goes up to 8,200 RPM, and you can't ever really get to that red line on the road. I've been driving this now for a while and I can't get up to that red line because you run out of space on the road. So it's really intoxicating though, taking it all the way up to the red line. It's really, really fun. Now, the other difference between this car and my 4 litre is the steering. The steering on this car doesn't feel as sharp. Now, that could be because it's 12 years old and it's had a lot of track work, but I'm guessing that they improved the steering on the 4 litre, and I know mine has rose jointed suspension. I don't know if this one does, I doubt it. So the technology on the 4 litre is probably better and it's newer, and obviously remember, my car has ceramic brakes. I don't think this one does, and my car has carbon fibre on the front wings and the bonnet, so it's lighter, so it's going to have better turn-in because it's obviously lighter and it's got less unsprung mass. I think all of these lovely Porsche cars with manual gearboxes are going to be really coveted, and I think the air-cooled cars from the 90s are going to feel so special in 10 years time when there's nothing like it on the road. You know, at the moment you've got the GT4, which is naturally aspirated with a manual box, and it feels very special, but I'm sure that a naturally aspirated engine and probably the manual gearbox are going to be a thing of the past in a few years time. I don't know how many more years we've got. You know, Ferrari don't make manual boxes anymore, nor do Lamborghini, so Porsche are one of the last to put a manual box in their cars, and hats off to them because I absolutely love them. This car is so much fun. I'm driving down a country lane, 5,000 RPM. I cannot get up to 8,000 because my car's in front of me, but the steering is really good, the pickup is really good, but it does feel like a track car, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Thank you to Edward for letting me drive it. Eddie Cowan, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. Fantastic 911. Fantastic 911. Possibly better than a GT4. Yes, it's better than a GT4. A future classic. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on YouTube. We'll see you soon.